Welcome to Through the Bible with Pastor Michael, a podcast from First Baptist Church in Mustang, Oklahoma. Here's Pastor Michael.
September day 16, looking at Job 28, 29, and 30. Let's make some observations and see what the applications would be for us today. Number one, Job says that the total ways of God and wisdom of God cannot be unearthed. It's just impossible for man to fully comprehend the ways of God, to fully comprehend the wisdom of God. There is wisdom that is from God that comes down to us. James 1 speaks of that. But the full wisdom that God possesses, we could never fully understand or fully unearth. The great hymn, Immortal, Invisible, God Only Wise. He's the only one who possesses all wisdom. We can never fully understand or exhaust that, and Job speaks to that. Secondly, only God alone is all-knowing and all-wise. As much as we want to learn and we want to try to read and study and pray and gain understanding, only God himself is all-knowing and all-wise. And the third thing with that is that then people are to fear the Lord and submit to him. What happens a lot of times are people, because they can't fully understand the ways of the Lord, they can't fully know all of the heart and the mind of God, they get frustrated and discouraged. Instead, what we should do is realize the greatness of God and how God is above us, as Isaiah says. His ways are higher than our ways, his thoughts above our thoughts. And that should lead us to submit to him. That should lead us to, in fear and reverence, to humble ourselves before him. Rather than getting upset or angry that we can't know everything God knows, it should drive us to a place of submission and reverence and worship. And then we see a fourth observation that Job tells of how people trusted him and sought his counsel. That's how it used to be for Job. He used to be one that people were going to and that people were relying on and they were trusting in. But the fifth observation tells us that Job is now the subject of people's mocking and cruelty. Whereas they used to go to him in reverence and respecting his wisdom and his opinions, his insight, now he's the subject of being mocked. Because of that, obviously, that makes life difficult for Job. And so the chapters today just kind of keep adding to the layers of all the pain of Job's heart. He's lost his kids. He's lost his animals. He's lost his servants. He's lost the way that he makes money. He's lost the respect of his friends. And now he's lost his standing in society. People used to go to him because they trusted him, and now instead they mock him in cruelty. So some applications for us. Number one, take heart in the perfect wisdom of God. Don't let the fact that you can't know everything of that God is doing, don't let that discourage you. Let it encourage you. God is doing things you don't know. Even just today, this became very evident to me in a situation with someone that I have been praying for about a certain need in their life, and they were talking with me or sharing with me in some different ways how those prayers had been answered, how the Lord had delivered them and come through for them. And they were just sharing with me how, while they were praying for certain needs in their life, they didn't know what God was doing. They didn't know what God was up to. But they now can look back and see that God was doing things in their life and their heart even greater than they knew. So our application is to take heart in the perfect wisdom of God. Take heart. Be encouraged, even if you don't understand what he's doing, even if you can't discern all of his thoughts and his ways. You can rest in comfort in knowing that the Lord is always at work, always doing more than we know. Number two, don't let what you can't know keep you from enjoying what you do know. Or as I've heard it said, don't let what you can't know keep you from enjoying what you do know. Yes, there are things we don't know, but there are things that we can enjoy. There are things that we don't understand, but there are things that we do understand and can rejoice in. So don't let what you can't know, what you don't understand, keep you from enjoying the things that you do know. That you do know that you're God's child, that you do know that God is all-wise, that you do know that God is taking care of you. Number three, when life is complicated, remind yourself of how God's people are to live. Sometimes, we talk throughout this year, we've talked about trying to keep life simple, that life is often hard, but we want to keep it simple. What to do is often very difficult to accomplish, but it's not often complicated. Sometimes life does get complicated. Sometimes things do happen that are very difficult to know what to do, very difficult to discern how we should respond. When life gets complicated, what we want to do is remind ourselves of what God's people are to do, how they are to live. So things like Micah 6, what does God require of you, O man? And he tells us that we are to treat people right, we're to do the right things, we're to walk humbly with God. When life gets complicated, just ask yourself, what are the simple things that God's called us to do? When life gets complicated, ask yourself, what are the simple strategies of living the Christian life? Be in the Word. Spend time in prayer. Gather with God's people in worship. Confess your sin. Make disciples. Share the gospel. Basic things. Basic things. And when life gets really complicated, that's the time to refocus in on the very basic, very simple parts of the Christian life and live in obedience to them. Number 4, the affirmation of the world is fickle, so don't seek it. The affirmation of the world is fickle, so don't seek it. If you go through life trying to chase down the affirmation of the world, one of two things is true. One, you may for a season get it. There may be people who do affirm you, appreciate you, speak highly of you. But if they do, it's fickle. It's going to be gone. Or another way that happens is you keep chasing the affirmation of the world and then you never get it. And if you never get it, you live constantly in frustration. So just knowing how fickle the affirmation of the world is, don't seek it. As we see in Job here, Job is frustrated. He's grieving because his friends don't understand him. The world doesn't understand what he's going through. And he can't grasp the full reason and explanation from the Lord of what he's going through. And what we want to do in those moments is no longer even pursue the world's affirmation of us. What we want is to rest in knowing that our heart, our conscience is clear before the Lord, that we've confessed our sin, that we're trusting in Him, that we're in His Word, that we're striving to bring Him glory. And if nobody else gets that, if nobody else sees that, if nobody else rewards that, yes, that can be difficult, but we rest in knowing that the affirmation of the world, fickle as it is, will never satisfy. But knowing that the Lord is pleased with us is all we need. And then a final application, protect your heart in days of pain. You've got to protect your heart. When you go through days of loss and grief and sadness, you're going to have to flood your heart with truth. You need to be in the Word. And when you don't feel like being in the Word, that's an alarm saying, This is when I need it most. When you don't feel like gathering with God's people for worship, that's when you need it most. When you find it hard to pray, that's when you most need to pray. So when you find yourself in pain, protect your heart. Do what you know brings joy to your heart. What is it that God blesses? What is it that fills up, that sustains, that nourishes the child of God? Well, it's time in the Word, it's time in prayer, and it's time with God's people. Don't let it get more difficult than that. And when you're in a season of pain, protect your heart by doing those simple things. All right? And then for our summary in Isaiah chapter 5, we read in that chapter about the disobedience of God's people, specifically about the sins in their life. And so our summary is very simple this way: God is not indifferent to our sin. Sometimes it may feel like God is indifferent to our sin, but He's not. God may be showing you patience. God may be showing you mercy, but He's not indifferent. This is often the mistake that we make. It really works one of two ways. Sometimes we look at other people's sin and we get frustrated that God's allowing it, and we think, man, God is so indifferent to their sin. Why is He so indifferent to their sin? Other times, look at our own life, and we're harboring sin, we're cultivating sin, we're tolerating sin, and we wrongly, because the Lord is being patient with us, even in those moments, we may wrongly conclude, okay, well, God's being indifferent with my sin. And if He's being indifferent with my sin, then I can do whatever I want to do. But when we see God being patient with someone else, don't grow weary of His grace or frustrated by it. Pray for those who are in sin. Galatians 6:1, seek to restore the one who is in sin. And for you, be grateful for God's patience. Then when it's your turn and you're convicted of sin, don't use His patience as an excuse or a license for you to be disobedient. You then quickly confess your sin and recognize that God is never indifferent to our sin.